Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Buddy Staples video. So today is going to be Katana World. So Katana World as a whole, it focuses a lot on the item and specific board states or getting to specific board states. But Katana World has a lot of good and interesting tools that a lot of decks can take advantage of, with a lot of cards needing to be dropped from your hand in order to trigger some abilities, and then ninja arts are a pretty splashable subtype. With that, we'll start things off with Art of Body Replacement. So this is your classic generic defense spell, where you can only cast it if you're being attacked, and if it's not a link attack, nullify the attack. Next, we also have Ninja Art's Snake Gaze. This is a spell where you just pay a life and at counter speed rest a monster on your opponent's field. Resting is very, very powerful, and the fact that they have a cheap and effective way of resting a monster on the field is just pretty good. Next, we have Art of Shadow Stitching. You can only cast this during attack on your opponent's turn. You pay 1 gauge. If you do, nullify the attack, then choose an attacking monster, and for this turn it can't stand. So this can nullify link attacks, so if they're link attacking you get to choose which monster you don't want standing, or if it's just a solo attack, it still nullifies the attack and then that monster won't be able to stand. Next we have Ration, Art of Stored Electricity. So at counter speed, put the top 2 cards of your deck into your gauge. Then if you have 5 or less life, put the top 2 cards of your deck into your gauge. It's a counter speed charge 2 if you have 5 or less life. It's counter speed charge 4, which is very powerful, especially since this card is not locked to once per turn. Next, we have Clear Serenity. At counter speed, put 3 cards from the top of your deck into your gauge, and then you can only cast this once per turn. Next, we have Art of Truancy. This is a set spell where all Dragon Deity Tribe monsters and items on your field can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. You don't necessarily care about that first part, you only care about the second part, which is act. You may drop a Ninja Arts card from your hand and pay 1 gauge. If you do, draw 2 cards, and then you can only use this ability once per turn, and then you can only have 1 Art of Truancy set on your field. So we don't necessarily care about the Dragon Deity Tribe, we just want the ability to drop Ninja Arts from our hand, because a lot of Ninja Arts have abilities where when they are dropped, they also do something. This is just a good generic way of dropping Ninja Arts from our hands to get additional benefits. Next we have Celestial Arts Returning Water. Its cast cost is destroy a monster on your field, then at counter speed, put the top card of your deck into your gauge, you gain 1 life, and you draw 1 card, and then you can only cast this once per turn. So this is a good generic draw, gauge, and life effect. Next we have Demon Way Akeshigure. Its cast cost is pay 1 gauge, then you put the top 2 cards of your deck into your drop zone and draw a card. Then if you have 10 or more cards in your drop zone, you draw an additional card, and then you can only cast this once per turn. A lot of Katana World decks can take advantage with wanting to self-mill or putting things into the drop. A self-mill strategy, depending on the deck, isn't necessarily the worst thing, but in Buddyfight, you can go through so many cards. Getting 10 cards in your drop zone isn't necessarily hard anyway, and this is already putting 2 of them in and drawing you a card by default. Next, we have Fuuton, Sweeping Whirlwind. It has 2 abilities. You could either cast it and put a ninja monster from your drop zone into your hand, or what you're most likely going to be using it for is its second ability. When this card is discarded from your hand, put the top card of your deck into your gauge and draw a card. It combos well with a lot of cards that discard ninja arts because this card is a ninja art, but if you're also running a ninja deck, you could also utilize your drop zone by putting a ninja back from your drop zone to your hand. Next we have Hiding Oni. So its call cost is put a soul from a monster on your field to the drop zone, and then you put the top card of your deck into your gauge and draw 2 cards. So it's a little bit different than Returning Waters, in which it requires a soul specifically instead of just destroying a monster, but instead of gaining a life, you draw an extra card. Next, we have Demon Way Sakurafubuki. This is Katana World's spell null. You pay 2 life, and then when your opponent casts a spell, you nullify the spell. Very simple and powerful effect. Unfortunately, you can only run one of it in any given Katana World deck. Next, we have Ninja Art's Mat Flipping Technique. So this is a call canceller, or call nullifier. You can only cast this when your opponent is calling a size 2 or less. You pay 2 gauge and nullify the call. So this is more of a good sideboard card because not all decks rely on size 2 or lesses, but when they do, this card is very, very efficient and effective. Next, we have Cherry Blossom Dance. Your opponent can't call monsters from the drop zone. Just that first part is pretty solid, but that part doesn't necessarily matter, it's just the bonus. What really matters is if an item would leave your field, you may put this card from your field to the drop zone. If you do, that card remains. So this is a good way to protect your item. Next, we have Chaos Sekitetsu. This is just a very good generic splashable card. It doesn't have a call cost, which is why usually you just call it and then you call over it, but its effect is when it enters the field, you may discard a card from your hand. If you do, put the top card of your deck into your gauge and draw a card. This helps combo a little bit with some of the ninja arts that want to be discarded, and it's just another way of discarding. Also, if you just want to have something in your drop, this is also another way of discarding any card, not specifically ninja arts, and if you do, you're rewarded with a gauge and a replacement card. And this card also isn't hard locked to calling it once per turn. Next we have Guardian Electrobeast Goryou. You can only call this card once per turn, which is pretty unfortunate, but it has a very powerful effect in which when it enters the field, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put one of them into your hand, and then drop the rest. This is more of the Daryl Burke of Katana World, where it helps dig through your deck and then the rest go to the drop. And again, things going to the drop in Katana World isn't necessarily so bad because there are certain cards with certain synergies that like to play either with the drop or from the drop. It's not the worst thing in the world sending the cards to the drop, but the important thing is fishing the top 3 cards of your deck, which is more powerful than drawing a card. Next we have Electron Ninja Shiden. So this is a really old card, but it's still a very good and popular card. So it has an act ability called Cyber Analyze. You may discard a Ninja Arts card from your hand, pay 1 gauge. If you do, draw 2 cards, and then you can only use this ability once per turn. This is another way, again, to discard those Ninja Arts to get certain abilities from the Ninja Arts off, and then on top of which, it's rewarding you by drawing 2 cards. The worst part of the effect is paying 1 gauge. And then lastly, you have the Impact Super Lethal Formation. You could also play Secret Sword Lethal Formation, but this card kind of counts as it, and I think this card's a little bit better. But this card does count as Secret Sword Lethal Formation. It's a set impact, and then its cast cost is pay 1 gauge and choose a card from your hand, deck, or drop zone, put it face down into its soul, and if you search your deck, shuffle your deck, you can only cast Secret Sword cards from the soul of this card. And then this also has the added benefit of all ninjas on your field get plus 1,000 power and plus 1,000 defense. The ninja synergy doesn't necessarily matter. What's important is this card is able to search basically any zone but Treasure Zone for a Secret Sword impact card. The big difference between this and the original is the original, you don't have to pay anything, but the card only can come from your hand. But the reason why Lethal Formation is a good generic card is because of the Secret Sword cards that come from it. The Secret Sword cards basically has a toolboxing style to them where they'll have a whole bunch of different ones for a whole bunch of different scenarios. My favorite 3 are the Attack Nullifier, the Dragon Monster Call Nullifier, and then the more popular one is the Spell Null. Depending on how the deck looks and what deck you're running, Super Lethal Formation or by proxy Secret Sword Lethal Formation can be a very good toolboxing style impact. That's it for the staples that I have on Katana World. Keep in mind, I'm not putting dual world cards in these lists because I feel like there's enough dual world cards to make its own separate video and have a different topic to discuss dual world cards as a whole. So that's why you're not seeing any dual world cards in any of these lists, but trust me, they will be covered, and I do understand that a lot of them are staples in the worlds that they are being ran in. With all of that, I hope you like this video. I will put all of these cards in the description below. I will have an updated section in the description below, and feel free to comment if you feel like I have missed any cards that you think are staples, or just generically good cards that can be ran in any deck. Again, I hope you like this kind of content. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Buddyfight content, and I will see you in the next video.